So I then went straight into university. I wanted to go to the London School of Economics, but I just missed the grades I needed. So I went to the University of East Anglia, which has a really good law school, but it wasn't it still isn't one of the Russell Group universities. But I had a great time there, and I made friends that were really amazing. I really got into a lot of my friends were from Cyprus, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I felt again more affinity with people from out of the country than the English.
Yeah.
At that time, anyway. Now it's quite different, but then there were lots of friends from Cyprus, and they were all sort of. Most of them were doing law or economics or something like that, and it was. I liked the law school. It was in a beautiful old sort of manor house at the end, quite far off campus, and again, I didn't feel clever. I didn't get how to actually do the critical thinking you needed to do. I was kind of. I struggled a bit, and I wasn't working that hard either. That's the other thing. I did work very hard for my A levels, but I didn't work very hard at university in the early days.
No, why do you think that is?
Just kind of there's so much freedom, so much. You've got your own home, your own room. You've got your own kind of look after yourself. You do your own laundry. At the laundrette, you do your own cooking or buy your food, shopping, friends. That was just mad. It was just lovely and crazy social experiences.
Yeah. When you put it that way, it's surprising that anyone does well.
Yeah, I just mucked around for ages.
Oh yeah. I think that first year of university or college, wherever you go, is kind of like you kind of have to like find your bearings.
Yeah.
And school is kind of the last thing you think about.
Yeah, totally.
Which is just crazy.
Or I tried, but I would procrastinate and then waste my time. And so it's just, I think the problem with me, and my children are so much better than me at this, is I would sit down to do something, like it was an assignment or something. And I would spend ages reading through the law textbook and reading around it and just not applying myself, not just saying, okay, I'm going to do this in an hour. Whatever comes out, comes out. I'm going to quickly read, look for the answer and write my essay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go about it that way. So in the end, it was just kind of rushed at the end, but done sort of lots of wasteful
work before
reading around. Yeah. It was just that kind of, get in there and do it. I didn't have that. Whereas I can see both my sons, when they want to do something, they're just like in and out. Whoa, got the answer. Answer, bish bosh. For me, it was this idea of perfection, and then it never was.
Yeah, because
it would hold me back. That's all it would do, is hold me back. Yeah.
It's almost like you lose steam.
Yeah, totally. Perfect's the enemy of good, isn't it?
Exactly. That's gosh, it's a much better way of going about things. You look for the answer, you find it, you do the thing.
Yeah.
That's that.
Yeah.
Why don't we all do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I'd known then. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they say your kids teach you a lot. So perhaps that's one thing they've taught you.
Exactly.
And going through those first few years of university, did you ever have any doubts of becoming a lawyer?
No, I mean, I didn't ever veer off and say, okay, I'm much better at, I'd rather do this or that. I mean, I had a boyfriend who was he did an international relations course, which he really loved. And then he was terrible. His handwriting was terrible. I think he was dyslexic. So he would ask me, I had nice handwriting. He would ask me to long handwrite all his essays. And I really got into his subject, but never enough to say, I don't want to do law. I'd rather do this. It wasn't that interesting to me. I think I really liked, and there were specific areas of the law that I found particularly interesting. And they were all the ones with the human angle, like, criminal law, tort, family law. Yeah. I wasn't so excited by property law and contract law. Yeah.
I know, it's funny. My partner, he went to law school and he went up to Leeds, and he'll be talking about property and everything.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah. I was like that too.
Over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
It sounds so boring.
It's kind of also to do with how it's taught, and it was taught in a very, I think, in some cases, dry way. And
yeah.
That is and English property law goes back to some really old esoteric kind of principles, and you can get lost in it. It's a bit boring.
Yes. Whereas it sounds like you want to be with that more human.
Oh my God, yeah. It's always about people for me.
Yeah.
It's always about people.
So how does it work here? Is it 3 years, the program?
You do 3 years of law.
Okay.
And then you do a year of law school, which is the Law Society finals, if you want to be a solicitor. In fact, we have a dual track. You can be a barrister,
yes.
Which in the old days they were the only people who could go to courts and represent, they had rights of audience in court, or you were a solicitor who basically does the preparation of cases, does contracts, does all the non-contentious legal stuff, will writing, trusts. So I decided to be a solicitor. I didn't think I had the power to be a good speaker in court or think on my feet. So I never even entertained that avenue. And then I went into, so I did a year at law school, which is really, really hard. It's a hard year in terms of the volume of stuff you have to cover and learn and get tested on in a year. I mean, I think that there was this kind of anecdote that the materials are, from the floor to that high, and you've got to learn that and do the exams within, I think it's 3 days, then a weekend and another 2 days or something. And again, I didn't know how to revise for that sort of thing, because that was a different thing. It was more like you had to really put down, okay, this is this type of contract, really down to the basic, kind of cover this point, this point, this point, this point. And by that time, I was doing essays in a very different style. So it took me ages to I was like failing all these tests. Yeah. And I was like, what am I not getting here? And then finally, I kind of got down to it. Yeah. There was a little technique involved.
There was a technique. There's no pizzazz to it. It's like just tell me the point.
Yeah.
There's no fun in that.
Yeah. There was no fun in that year, for sure. Yeah.
And during that time, was your brother now over here?
No, I'm trying to think. I guess he was either here or he was in Switzerland. He went to hotel management school in Switzerland. Yeah.
I actually had a friend who did that course in Switzerland.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And your parents were still back in Kenya?
My parents were back in Kenya. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So at this point, you were essentially out of home since the age of 16.
Yeah.
Did you, at that point, had the homesickness kind of wane?
No, by then I was okay. And actually, because I had, with law, you actually need to, the best way is to get a contract for, you've got to do 2 years to qualify of working.
Yes.
And I already had that contract after I'd left university. Wow. So I went to, you just applied. It was the way you do it well in advance.
Yeah.
And and they gave me some money for the Law Society final year, the law school. Wow. And then my dad said, oh, okay, that's great. They've given you this money. What did he do? He bought me a car anyway. He bought me this really lovely little Renault 5 Campus red car, and I had that for law school. So I was able to drive to school and live out of town, which was really nice as well. So I lived in a country house, and so that was great fun.
And when you were doing
but scary, because the exams were so scary. I was always like, I think when it came to exams, I was an insomniac. Because I'd left things so late with my revision, I never felt confident. I would make myself sick really with worry. But somehow or the other, I got through that year and I passed everything, which was just like a miracle.
Oh my goodness.